So here we will discuss the cloud deployment model. We have three type of model. We have a public cloud, we have a private cloud, and we have the hybrid cloud. So this is a very important concept. If you go for the job interview, they ask you the major differences in this public cloud and hybrid cloud. They ask such questions. So first we will discuss the public cloud. So in a public cloud, computing resources and services are provided by the companies like AWS, Microsoft, Azure, Google Cloud. These are the public companies, and these provide these resources publicly. So these services that provide by AWS are available to everyone over the internet. So many organizations share these services, so and they pay only for what they use. So public clouds are flexible. Okay, so they are also scalable, they are cost effective, so making them great for various type of businesses. You want to use your you want to have a let's say a database server, you can have from AWS. So how you can have from AWS? Because AWS is a public cloud, anyone can have their have can rent their services, can whenever I say service, I mean the resource that cloud providers provide. Okay, so we have some examples of public cloud like AWS, GCP, Alibaba Cloud, Microsoft Azure, Oracle Cloud. These all are the public clouds. And then we have a private cloud. In a private cloud, company resources are used only by one organization. So this can be either their own premises or hosted by another company, but it is exclusive to them and not shared. Like in AWS, all the resources are shared, you can have their resources, but in the private cloud, company do not share their resources. So public cloud give more control over the security and customization. They're ideal for businesses with specific rules, and if your company has a sensitive data, you can create your own cloud. If you create your own cloud, it will call the private cloud. So organization can set up their own private cloud or uses their own services that offer dedicated private cloud solution only to them. So if you do not want to rent any service from the Amazon, so then you can set up your own cloud. So this will call the private cloud. And then what is the hybrid cloud? Hybrid cloud combines both public cloud and private cloud. So hybrid means the combination of both clouds. For example, if you are hosting some services on your own cloud, but meanwhile you are hosting some services on AWS cloud, in such case it will call the hybrid cloud. It lets organizations share data and programs between them. So these setups offer flexibilities. Like public cloud are used for tasks that needs a lot of power and are not very sensitive. We mostly use public cloud when our data is not very sensitive, while the private cloud handles more critical tasks or data, and it is considered more secure. So hybrid cloud let you move work around easily. Okay, so you can use both public cloud and private cloud, then it will call the hybrid cloud. So by the way, the concept of cloud computing is not new. It dates back to the 1960s when the computer scientist John McAfee suggested this concept. So he suggested this concept in 1960. Some companies may have moved to the cloud, but we do not know. But we know the public cloud that was started in 2007 by Amazon. So yeah, these are the cloud deployment models. Yeah, you can see this is the diagram of hybrid cloud. It is a combination of both public cloud and private cloud. You can see in public cloud we have three giants: AWS, Microsoft Azure, and GCP. There are many others which we didn't mention here, but in the private cloud it is just like your own cloud that you set up. Okay, so actually these things are needed. So we have the delivery models, we have the three delivery models. We have the IaaS, we have the PaaS, and then we have SaaS. IaaS, as the name suggests, it is the infrastructure as a service. I told you before, whenever I say word service, it means the resource that we get from the cloud or so IIS is the simplest option for businesses, where organization migrates its hardware, servers, and data storage in cloud rather than purchasing and maintaining its own infrastructure. So in IIS, providers like Microsoft Azure, AWS, Google Compute offer virtualized computing resources over the internet. User have control over the operating systems, they have control over the applications on the networking tools. So it is like a renting virtual machine in the cloud. So when you rent a virtual machine, which is called EC2 in the AWS, we will cover in the upcoming lecture. So for example, if you rent a computer in the cloud, it will be considered as an example of infrastructure as a service. All right. And then if you do not want to if you do not want to rent the whole infrastructure as a service, we also have another delivery model which is called platform as a service. So in a platform as a service, user focus on building and deploying application while the provider manage the underlying infrastructure like operating systems and runtime. So it is ideal for the developers like Microsoft. We have examples like Microsoft Azure App Service. We have an example of Google App Engine, where which provides the platform for the developers to develop their application. For example, PS is suitable for businesses who want to focus on application development without making major financial investments. So an organization accesses the pre-setup environment for software development that can be used to build, test, runs application. For example, if you are a developer, okay, you are a developer, you want to develop your you want to develop your application. To develop your application, you need a Visual Studio. Behind the Visual Studio, you need some codes, you need some RAM. But if you do this, if you go for the option like IaaS, in IaaS you rent a whole computer in the cloud, okay. But if you get the whole computer in the cloud, you have to set up on your own. For example, you have to install the Visual Studio, you have to install the Python, you have to install the .NET, so it will waste your time. But in the platform as a service, there are some companies that provide you a platform, like they will provide you an online Visual Studio. GitHub provides this service. This is called GitHub Code. GitHub Code is an example of PaaS. They provide you a platform where you will go, you will type your code, and you will press the debug button, and your code will be debugged. You didn't manage the underlying infrastructure. So in such case, these are the examples of platform as a service. You do not manage the infrastructure. You just get a platform where you will do your work. And Microsoft 365, Office 365 is an example of platform as a service. You get your Microsoft Visual, you get your Excel, you get your Word, you get your PowerPoint in the cloud. So this is, you didn't install the whole Microsoft Office in your computer. You accessing the docs, you are just accessing the spreadsheet using the platform. So this is the example. This is another example of platform as a service. There are many platform as a service example. If I give you some more example, like if I think yes, for the iPhone user, they have a service called iCloud. iCloud is also a platform as a service. They provided you a platform where you can store your where you can store your pictures, you can store your videos. You didn't set up all thing on your own in a computer. You didn't manage the infrastructure, you just using their service. So this is a platform as a service. And the last, we have a software, we have a software as a service. So in this, they provide you a software in this service, such as Salesforce, Microsoft 365, Dropbox. So they deliver software over the internet on subscription basis. So user access apps through the web browser without installing or manage them locally. So if you get a software through the internet, it will call software as a service. If you get a whole platform as or through the internet, it will call platform as a service. But if you get the infrastructure, like you get the computer, you get the RAM, you get the storage, you get the SSD through the internet, so it will call infrastructure as a service. Also another example, for example, if you want your database, so instead of buying a computer in the cloud and installing your own database in the cloud, you can use a service, as you can use the platform by AWS, which is called RDS. So in the RDS, they provide you a pre-setup database, and they will provide you the connection string and credentials. So you will get your database with just few clicks. So this is another example of platform as a service, where you didn't manage the infrastructure, you got exactly what you wanted. So yeah, you can see uh, IaaS provides more control over the infrastructure, yeah, more control over allowing architectures to manage and configure their own virtual computers, their own virtual hardwares. So this is mostly used by architecture who want the complete access over the infrastructure. And the platform as a service focus on app development with managed infrastructure. We do not have to manage any infrastructure. This is mostly used by application developer. I gave you GitHub Code is a very big example of PaaS, where they provide you an online Visual Studio where you type, you create your application, you develop your application, you debug your application, and all the infrastructure behind that is managed by GitHub. So this is the PAS, and the SAS is mostly used by the end users. No local install needed, and this is directly used by SaaS users. Salesforce is an example, Dropbox is an example, Netflix is an example, where you just use the result of your all infrastructure, your all development, and the end you get result, and you use it in the SAS as a software as a service. So fully SaaS is fully managed software which is accessible via internet. You do not need to install anything. It is mostly used by the end users. We have discussed we have already discussed what is public cloud. So these three, which one? AWS, Azure, and GCP are the top players in the public cloud market. So these just three together capturing 65% of all cloud revenues. It was up to 80%, but with the birth of Alibaba Cloud and Oracle, it has come to the 65%. So these three cloud are covering 65% of all the cloud revenue. The industry is expanding rapidly. So with these providers leading the way for innovation, and they keep increasing their service offering, and they keep increasing their innovative provisioning of the services. So first we have AWS. In this course, we will stay mostly we will just cover AWS, and we will also cover Microsoft Azure. We won't cover GCP, but all the clouds have the same concept. You just need to understand the concept. Once you have the concept, it will not be difficult for you to switch into any other cloud platform, because the concept is same, only the names or the titles are different. For example, in the AWS we call the virtual computer as a EC2, Elastic Compute Cloud, but it's same concept, same computer in Microsoft Azure is called a VM, virtual machine. So concept is same, only the titles are changed. Now, first of all, AWS. So Microsoft Amazon Web Service, it is a largest cloud platform globally. So it offers a wide variety of services that business and developer can use to run their application. It also provides us many services related to the data and also the security of these data. And then we have a Microsoft Azure. It is from Microsoft. After AWS, it is also very big and growing very quickly, since it is by Microsoft. So by securing big contracts with large companies, so Microsoft is a very trusted company, so that's why it is trusted. Microsoft Azure is trusted worldwide, and it is very growing very quickly. So many companies that is already working with the Microsoft relies on the Microsoft Azure. And then we have a Google Cloud Platform, which is GCP. So it stand out for its open source and secure infrastructure. So this is, since this is by Google, there are many applications that are developed mainly by Google. For example, Kubernetes is actually a container. When we deploy the container, it's a orchestration tool. So you do not have to know the Kubernetes now, but I am just telling you that Kubernetes is an open source tool that is developed by Google. Since it is developed by Google, so those companies who are working with Kubernetes are automatically shifting into the Google Cloud Platform. So it is also capturing many big companies for their open source provisioning and their security by Google. And we will focus, as I told you before, we will focus on AWS and also Microsoft Azure, and gain both theoretical understanding and practical experience through the hands-on lab.